I'd like to introduce you to our Welsh Black cattle. Now, Welsh Black cattle are native to Wales and they're a good hardy breed. As you can see, they've got thick black coats, and those thick coats ensure that as bad as the weather can get in Wales, they can stand outside, and they stand with their backs to the rain, and the rain just trickles off that thick coat. Now, here in the National Botanic Garden of Wales, we have a herd of 20 cows, and those 20 cows produce calves every year, and we keep the female calves and they get kept back into the herd and they go on to calve. As you can see, these have got horns. There's a calf with its horns. We try and take the horns off the cows because they can become a bit boisterous, and it also makes life difficult when they get brought into the sheds. It's more difficult to feed if they've got horns. So these cows calve once a year. The cows are put in calf, and we have a bull that's on the farm, a Welsh Black bull, and they spend 9 months being pregnant in calf. It takes 9 months for the calf to grow inside the cow. And cows are usually about 2.5 to 3 years old when they first have their first calf. So we let them grow on until they're quite big and strong. The cows usually have one calf, and because of their breed, because they're a native breed, because they're an old-fashioned breed, the calving is usually fairly simple. The cow just gets on, she takes herself off into a quiet corner of the field, and she quietly has the calf on her own. Very, very rarely do we ever have to help them. Usually we just find the calf being licked on the field by its mother. When the calf is born, they're wet. So the mother turns round and she instinctively starts to lick the calf. It's very, very important that the calf gets the first milk within the first 2 hours of its life. That first milk is called colostrum. And the cow will concentrate on getting that calf nice and dry in order for that colostrum to be taken. And the reason that calf needs colostrum is because the colostrum contains antibodies. It's a bit like the good bugs. And so the calf needs those antibodies in their stomach, in their gut, in their intestines, and those antibodies will help that calf for the rest of its life. It will almost give it it's the first boost of life that it needs. A calf that doesn't have antibodies, that first colostrum, often struggles through its life. It suffers with ill health, with what we call scours, which is when they have runny poos. It really often isn't a very well calf. So the most important thing we are interested in as farmers is to make sure that the cow has a nice amount of colostrum and that the calf receives that colostrum. Once that calf has received that colostrum, it's then able to then carry on and grow big and strong. So as you can see, these calves are fairly big now. They're getting on for about 7 months old, I should say. But they're still receiving milk. They're still with their mothers. They don't have as much milk as when they were little tiny baby calves, but you will still see them suckling. But they're also eating silage. Now, the digestive system of a cow is a lot different to the digestive system of us. And cows, as you may know, have more than one stomach. The cow has 4 stomachs. And a cow's diet is mainly grass. A cow is a herbivore, and a cow will eat grass and silage. They will also eat grains and oats and barley and maize. These cows, because they're native, because they're hardy, they only eat grass. So they eat grass in the fresh form, in the field, or when they come into the barn in the winter, we feed them silage, just as these cows are eating here. Silage is like a pickled grass. It's been cut and then it's bagged up, almost like often it smells like a beautiful chutney, I think. And so the grass has been preserved. It smells delicious. The cows, as you can see, are enjoying eating it. Also, hay is fed, but in Wales it's much harder to make hay. It needs a lot of dry days. And so in Wales we tend to make silage. Now, a cow eats an enormous amount of silage, an enormous amount of grass, an enormous amount of fibre. And if we eat an enormous amount of fibre, then there is one thing that we are guaranteed to be doing. And that is exactly what cows do. And they do produce a lot of poo. This is because of the vast quantity of fibre and of grass that they are eating on a very regular basis. Now, as you can see this cow here, she's lying down contentedly and she's chewing. Now, I can tell you one thing, she doesn't have any chewing gum in her mouth. So she's not chewing gum. But she is chewing. And that is something that every cow does. And the reason that she's chewing is because it is called, she is chewing her cud. And when we do our exercise, we will find out exactly why cows chew their cud. It's a very, very important part of the digestive system of a cow, chewing their cud. So these cows spend about 4 months indoors. They could quite happily be outdoors. It wouldn't harm them. They're tough enough and their coats are strong enough to be outdoors. But we like to bring them indoors. It means that we can give the fields a rest. It means that the grass can recover. There's a beautiful big nice cowpat there, and this is what we're going to be studying as we look into the digestive system of cows. So by giving the fields a rest, it allows the fields to green up again. It means that the cows aren't walking around the fields and churning them up. And it also means that they can come in and have a bit of a rest. The cows love coming in the winter, but they also love going out in the spring. It's one of the most beautiful sights, is to bring them in the winter on a cold winter's day when it's wet and cold outside, and we bring them in to the beautiful sheds with straw and silage, and the cows roll around and they're so happy to be indoors. But then after a couple of months, they start to get twitchy and the birds start to sing outside and spring starts to open up, and every time we open the gate to bring them some more silage, they try to make an escape. So when it's ready for turnout, when it's ready for them to go back out to the grass, they're as happy to go back out to that grass as they were to come in the first place.